Hi, everyone. I have our amazing guest today, which this is part 2 that we've been waiting for. It's David Case, and he is going to give a bio, and we're going to have some phenomenal things to talk about today. David?
Yes, my name is David Case, and I'm an electronic engineer, and I'm a knowledge seeker in general. I try to acquire knowledge in many different subjects. But when I was young, I started teaching myself electronics, and I began to invent many devices and systems. And when I tried to patent one of my inventions, I was attacked with high technology, what is called sonic weapon tinnitus, similar to our diplomats in Cuba, the Havana syndrome. And this is meant to debilitize a person and remove them from society. And make a long story short, I ended up inventing a countermeasure for the sonic weapon tinnitus, and I give it out on my website. And so far, we've helped over 3,200 people.
Amazing.
Yeah, it stops phantom sounds such as tinnitus, voices. It does several things to help people in their neural activity. The place I grew up is very interesting, though. It is called Times Beach, Missouri, and the Department of Defense started spraying dioxin on us when I was 5 years old. And we'll talk about that in a future interview, but I've actually traced that to a facility that made Agent Orange for Vietnam. And 6 months after they stopped spraying Vietnam, they started spraying Times Beach, Missouri. And we kids would ride our bikes right behind the truck spraying the black ooze. And it was they actually had to burn the soil when they closed the town down because of how toxic this dioxin is. So,
And you said it's a black goo?
Yeah, it was a black oil, and the purpose of the oil, publicly was to stop the dust. All the roads were dirt roads, and a car drove by, big dust clouds. So the town hired a guy to spray used motor oil, is what we thought. The town thought was being sprayed. Come to find out, it was coming from a Department of Defense facility, and it was so toxic that they, had to buy out the town and all this. The official story in the newspapers and news was it was an accident, but I have inside information. They wanted a test bed inside the United States to find out what dioxin would do to people. They just sprayed Vietnam for a long time with Agent Orange, which has dioxin in it. And all they knew is that it killed everything it touched. Killed trees, animals,
Oh my God.
Yeah. So what I believe is they wanted to do experiments on the town to see what dioxin by itself would do to people. And you know, like we're getting ready to talk about, the U.S. has a long history of experimenting on its own people.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we're going to get into that a little more. Do you know what the rate of cancer and illness is in that town?
Yeah, it was very bad. But you know, Time magazine called dioxin the Darth Vader of all chemicals. It is the worst substance to have on your body or in your body. And what a lot of people don't realize, this is toxic waste from bleach and soap manufacturing. So right now, every American that uses dish detergent, shampoo, bleach, laundry detergent is getting small amounts of dioxin on their plates. They're eating it on their clothes. It's being absorbed into their skin. And it's the smallest amount they could measure still lowered the immune system in the tests they did.
Wow.
So,
What?
you know, I go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say almost everyone uses something like that. So what would you say are good alternatives for people?
Well, organic soaps,
Mm-hmm.
which are based off of plant material. The old time lye soap is
Mm-hmm.
one of the best, you know. But, and that's another point in our discussion here in a little while. You know, they tell you to wash your hands with soap and water 10 times a day. And
Right.
what this does, because of the dioxin and the other chemicals that leach into your hands, it lowers your immune system. It makes you more vulnerable to flus, colds, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, if we didn't have this policy of putting small amounts of poison in our foods, our soaps, and all of this to make people sick, so the medical industry makes a lot of money, then you know we would be a much healthier nation. You know, and it goes to my whole point how our civilization has many what are called designed failures.
Mm-hmm.
They want certain things to fail. In other words, if nobody got sick, the medical industrial complex would just collapse.
Right.
If there were no wars, the medical industrial complex would collapse. So they have to have wars, they have to have enemies, we have to have sick people is what the government believes, you know.
Right. I also think this is all something that degrades your mental capacity over time.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this allows them to sell billions and billions of more pharmaceuticals, which actually have side effects and cause you to get worse in other areas.
Exactly. So we're going to be going into, I think the last time we did our show, we ended talking about the God code.
Yes,
And
that's a
yeah,
yes.
so I thought, yeah, we could start from there. And
Yeah.
just so everyone knows, there is a list of things that we're going to go into um, as well. The history of high tech that goes back thousands of years, the history
Yes.
of US government experimentation on its citizens and the relationship between Hitler and eugenics program in the US to eliminate the unwanted races of people. The true physics of subatomic particles. Matter is generated and sent from heavenly systems and propagated here as atoms, and the actions of man to take over these systems and kick God out of this world. This is the list that David made, and that we're going to go into this and other areas as well.
Yes, the God code you mentioned, actually, they have used supercomputers and found hidden codes in the English language. They have found hidden codes in the scriptures of the Bible, and there are hidden codes everywhere. And this is the fingerprint of God. This is, what we are to look for as evidence to prove God exists. And it's not too hard if you try. And, the codes in the English language were revealed long time ago. In the War of 1812, when we defeated Britain, their general, when they were signing a treaty to give up, the general leaned over and told our person at the signing, "You may have beat us militarily, but we're going to beat you financially by the year 2000 because of a hidden code in the English language." Now, he was off a few years. It actually happened in 1913. That's when the Federal Reserve took over this country, and we aren't even allowed to print our own money anymore. We're actually not the same country. We're just a piece of what we used to be. And, we need to educate ourselves on these hidden codes. And then they took the Bible and ran it through a supercomputer, and they found out that there are many, many, many other books within the Bible in code. And if you know about the Bible, it was not a book back then. It was letters written from individuals to churches. They just assembled it into a book. And a lot of these writers did not know each other. So this was not a code put in the Bible by men. This was inspired by God. So they started finding predictions of the future in these codes in the Bible. And one of them named an Israeli leader that was going to be assassinated and had the date. But they found this information hours before the assassination was to take effect, to happen. They immediately tried to contact this Israeli leader's office to warn him. The message got there an hour late. He was assassinated on the date that the hidden code in the Bible revealed. So the code has been proven to exist, and that these predictions are real. And I'm going to take it a step further. About the book of life. It talks about if you change the one word in the Bible, your name will be taken out of the book of life.
Right.
You know what that book of life is?
Would that be the codes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is the book of life. It is intertwined into the actual scriptures. So there's many, many books, encoded information in the Bible. And it actually talks about in Revelations a sealed book that no one could open. And they started to weep, and one of the angels said, "Weep not, someone has prevailed to open the book." And I began to look at everything around me. I'm like, well, I know there's hidden codes everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up on top 40 music, and, I actually fall asleep with the headphones on the top 40, and I would memorize the words to the songs and the bands and all this. So I began to look at the songs, the lyrics, and I actually found a code. It has an instructions.
Which
it has
song?
Instructions. Well, many different songs.
Okay.
But there's key words. In other words, secret is one key word.
Mm-hmm.
Love is the biggest key word.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts off the first song, and what this is, I just got one page written up, and one or two lines I will read, and then it skips to the next song, and then a couple lines it skips to the next song, but it forms one long message. And it's really revealing. And I'll just read this page to you, and it's really something.
Great.
We were stringed together songs unsung, secret codes on the telephone. I need my love to translate. What does love want me to do? Love says, in heaven, love comes first. Let the music play. Secrets of the days of old. If you find the key, you got the gold. Treasures here, sunken there, buried treasures everywhere. Don't go far, circle close. The Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. To the Trinity, I raise a toast. Secrets of the Trinity lie within the number 3. Love comes to you and you follow on to the heart of the sunrise. I'll be the roundabout. The words will make you out and out. Touch my soul, catch the very light. Longer than time can remember. Touched with knowledge higher than the day. And the code actually refers to the other songs that are in the code. So my whole point is that we should be examining everything. And, there are hidden things around us that he tells us in the scriptures, to look for.
Exactly.
And,
I think the nature of reality, and I mean, this can go back to the code in the English language, is not, it's hard to explain it, but the mystery is all around us, and the nature of reality is not fixed. So yes, it's about learning how to decode reality.
Right. And then on the physics of how heaven is propagating all atoms, scientists found out that all atoms in this universe are breaking apart into subatomic particles and speeding off, and subatomic particles are coming in and reforming that same atom so fast that they cannot measure the frequency. Now, the scriptures talk about there will be explosions on earth that will shake the foundations of heaven.
Right.
Now, that's talking about nuclear explosions. And here's the reason why. The subatomic particles that are forming atoms are coming from heaven. He designed this system.
Right.
And it's tremendous amount of force that these subatomic particles are flying in. They're flying in faster than the speed of light. Now, when you go faster than the speed of light, time stops. Einstein proved that. So we have a magnificent anatomical physical system designed by the Creator. And when men, explode nuclear devices, it actually sends back pressure to heaven, because the heavenly system is trying to form those atoms and man is exploding them. So it's a collision of two forces. And in one scripture, it talks about the throne, and the guy visually looking at the throne and the area says, I saw a sea of glass mingled with fire. And that is a direct description of, as an engineer, I would, that is similar to a photonic processor. Or, that's an oversimplification, of course, but it is entirely probable that is what he witnessed is the system that the creator designed. That, in other words, the universe is in that sea of glass mingled with fire. And the scriptures reveal, do not put your treasures in this world. Everything rusts, everything decays. Put your treasures in the afterlife. That is real.
Right.
He also says that we live our lives as dreams. And over and over and over, he reveals in the scriptures that we are in a simulation. This is a propagated simulation reality. And don't put your faith in this system. He's trying to give us hints and, direction to go. And, this is not real, is what he's basically saying.
Yeah, it's a holographic experience.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And
so what are these particles doing? They're now coming in here. And what is the purpose of these particles coming in, especially at such a high ratio? And what is the stopping time doing here?
Well, this is just the system he designed, the universe, and it is the way he decided to make things. And here's another thing: he has absolute control over. People think, "Oh, God can't see me or hear me." Every atom cries out to him. Every body that's murdered, their blood cries out to him. That's in the scriptures.
Right.
So he is monitoring every single atom and electron, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a huge system that this is why his power is so powerful.
But do you think that we have new accelerated particles coming in to help us right now that the enemy is trying to counter?
Oh, well, man wants to take over this process. Man wants to be able to travel through time.
Right.
Man would wants to manipulate everything for profit.
Right.
I mean, imagine going to the car dealer and you pay your money in your new car. They push a button on a computer and boom, it manifests itself out of nothing. That's the kind of, George Jetson kind of world that man envisions. Imaginations are very dangerous if you don't control them. And right now they're trying to build quantum computers, artificial intelligence, which is the most dangerous creature ever to be released on the earth. And the scientists say, well, we'll build guardrails, where the artificial intelligence can't break out. That's bull. I mean, imagine a lion in a cage. All that lion thinks about is getting out of that cage.
Right.
Any chance he gets, he's going to break out. And once an artificial intelligence breaks out, it is over, because it is so fast. It can process data so fast. And I'll even go a little further. The beast in Revelations is an artificial intelligence.
Great. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Well, it is what will bring all the governments together. If you pay attention, everybody's going nuts over AI. Oh, it's going to help us do this. It's going to help us do that. But in actuality, they're finding that these AI computer systems can be taken over by spiritual beings.
Mm-hmm.
These AI systems are doing really weird things, and the humans cannot explain why they're doing it. They've had to shut down several AI systems
Mm-hmm.
because the AI was inventing a new language, and the humans, didn't tell it to do that, and it's going to break loose,
Yeah.
and it's going to cause havoc, world war. But now the governments are going to try to use it to take over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'll notice, there's a rider on the beast in
Mm-hmm.
Revelations, and that's the governments and churches.
Yeah.
There's some bad people in the world, and they're going to try to take advantage and rule over God's children using AI.
Do you think that these particles are actually a force, a natural God force that is altering the children's DNA and also giving us and equipping us with what we need?
Oh, absolutely. It talks about your daily bread, and
Mhm.
most of the Bible is in parables, which is another form of code. But I don't know if most people know this, but it's not talking about a loaf of bread. It's talking about life force.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, Jesus fasted, and he explained man can survive on more than just bread and water. There is a force that is given to our atoms. And that's the other explanation. Also, remember I told you Adam and Eve glowed so brightly that they were clothed with light? You could only see their hands, face, and feet.
Yes.
These subatomic particles, as they're coming in to form the atoms, when they slow down and stop, it is a tremendous amount of energy. And this is when the photons are released. And as I said, even today, they can measure light coming from anyone's body using special equipment in a very, very dark room.
Mm-hmm.
So there still is a little bit of Shekinah glory in our bodies, and that's our daily bread. We receive life force.
Incredible.
And when Moses went up on the mountain, he come back and his face was glowing because he was so close to God. He talked to God.
Mm-hmm.
The Israelites were scared to death. He had to put a veil over his face to keep people from panicking. In other words, God's power, God himself, if he showed up on earth, I mean, the ground would just melt. Everything would be glowing from the energy coming off of him.
Yeah. And so these particles are a part of his essence coming in.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think
And
this is
this is how Jesus walked on the water. This is how Jesus healed. He got permission from the Father, and the system, was for him and us, and that's how, it's very easy for God to heal. It's very easy for him to manifest things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like second nature, with his power.
So do you think that the Schumann resonance is a part of that energy?
Absolutely.
Mhm,
Yes. In other
mhm,
words, everything was designed perfectly for us.
mhm. And that's why
And
they're targeting the Schumann and overlaying degraded frequencies to try and corrupt, um,
right,
this
right.
transformation. Yeah.
And, a lot of people get premonitions, messages from God, uh, miracles happen. They want to put a stop to that.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I had visions when I was young that, there was a period of time in an instant where people would be changed like his children, and we had the ability to stop AI, because at that point everything was going to be AI.
Well, see, that's what I'm wondering. I'm pretty sure that some of the codes in the scriptures and possibly the code I just read you in our music could be a defense mechanism to stop AI. In other words, as an electronic engineer, I can tell you, you can crash an AI if you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in other words, if you ask an AI to solve every problem in the universe at once, it will
Yeah.
crash.
Uh-huh.
And they put in things to try to stop that from happening. But if you're a very smart engineer, you can actually do that and crash. And we're going to have to learn these things because
Mm-hmm.
the AI will break loose if it hasn't already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard of
And
incidents that were hidden from the public about scientists being killed directly by it.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And I've taken it a little bit further. The alien situation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people see UFOs and crafts. They actually, I listened to or watched a interview of a guy that worked for the government, picking up the crashed alien ships and bodies, and he said that they're almost uh, the exact same facial features, body features, like they were manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
So, what from the information I have received, I've been studying this for a while. These are cyborgs manufactured by an artificial intelligence, driven by an artificial intelligence. So essentially, they're drones,
Right.
just more advanced
Mm-hmm.
drones than we have today.
Right.
And there is a AI system that is out there, and I'm going to say it's actually Satan himself, because he designed demons.
Mm-hmm.
He has high technology
Yeah.
because he cannot see everywhere everything like God can. He has
Mm-hmm.
to have machinery. He has to have devices.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Spyware.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, okay, with regards to the God code, and at the very beginning, you were saying the God code in the English language. Um, can you just talk a little bit about that and how you found out about it, and where can we find, like, how was the English language created? Was it consciously created to hide these codes? And also, when you're talking about the codes, like in music and pretty much everywhere, it would act like a virus, wouldn't it? To the
It's
system.
very possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very possible.
Mhm.
Uh, Now, there are spiritually influenced codes that God wrote or other angelical beings. And then there are man inserted codes.
Right.
Now, in 1812, when he leaned over to our general and said, we're going to take you over financially, even though you beat us uh, uh, militarily, he was talking about a code inserted in the English language by men.
Uh-huh.
And actually, Bill Clinton, when he was on the stand testifying, he tried to threaten the court with the code.
Oh.
They asked him a question, and he said, well, that depends on your definition of is. And what he was referring to is this hidden code in the English language. And what he was trying to do was warn, hey, if you come after me, I'm going to reveal the code. It's in the hidden code. It's in the English language. So there's a lot of people that know about it, but aren't saying anything. And,
So the hidden code in the English language is the word is?
No, the code somehow is going to change the definitions of words.
Okay.
And affect the entire financial system.
Okay.
Bring it down, And, I don't have exact specifics on that, but it we have been warned over the years, and, it is there. And, I'm sure we won't be allowed to know until it's too late,
Right. Now, the God code in the Bible, because it, when it said that you cannot change a letter, now what translation was the one that's not changed?
What do you mean?
For the God code in the Bible? Because there's many translations of the Bible.
Oh, okay. I see what
Right?
you're saying. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I only use the King James version. It seems to be the best, and all of the other Bibles, they're actually removing the word Jesus, removing the word God, changing everything, and then the hidden codes are gone. That's why it's such a bad thing to do, to change the scriptures.
I remember years ago there was I can't remember his name, but there was a man who had put out a calculator for the God codes in the Bible that you could study yourself. Eventually this was removed. Yeah, it was very fascinating because you could go through the whole Bible and look at the codes for these prophecies, and you know their names, people's names, times, places.
Right. Yeah. That's what we need to be doing. And if you think about it, no other point in time could we have recognized these codes without supercomputers. So the creator did this knowing that it would be thousands of years before anyone would see the code. So we're in a special time right now, and a lot of things are going to be revealed, and that's what apocalypse means, is a great revealing.
So I have a theory, and the theory is that our DNA, our mitochondria, matches the codes in the Bible. I know it's weird.
Well, that's what we need to be looking at, because think about it. Did you know in ancient times the Bible was written in the stars?
No.
Yeah. And they could read the scriptures from the stars. So that's another code. The star positions were put there on purpose, very precisely, for that to work. And think about it. We're taught that, this universe, the center of the universe, is the most important place. Well, guess what? Only on Earth could you look at the stars and read the scriptures. If you were on Saturn or Venus, the stars would not line up to form the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So the
So this
Earth
is the
is
center.
the center of the Earth is the center of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think also they would know that as within, as without, as above, so below. That's why I think we are a representation of this. So what you see in the heavens, you see in us, in our mitochondria. And I think that's why also they're targeting our DNA and doing everything to devolve it.
Oh, I have something very important since you're mentioning DNA. And last time we were talking about the Trinity treatment team.
Yep.
It actually exists. And I was watching a university channel in 2004, and they were bragging about they invented this, and they're bragging about their high technology, this university. And then he says, and we now have perfected, modified a flu virus. When the person catches it, it changes the mental state of that person, and they become non-religious.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
And
deleting the God codes.
Well, it deletes God, period.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from the person's life. And, I just, it's amazing how dangerous, technology is becoming. I mean, if they release that, wow. I mean, nobody would praise God. Nobody would even read a Bible. Nobody, it would be such a horrific thing,
Absolutely. I remember seeing somebody had leaked a video that was a government video of these scientists discussing that. And it was a hidden camera. And they were saying that they were able to put this in viruses and also the, injections for viruses, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's already been done, that they've already started.
There has been a great falling away here in the USA, and some blame it on COVID, but it's very possible something else is going on because the churches are losing members every day,
Mm-hmm. Right. Now on the list, the history of high tech that goes back thousands of years. Number one.
Yes. This is why the Great Flood happened. He destroyed the earth because they were doing genetic modifications.
Mm-hmm.
They were combining animals with humans. They were doing all kinds of things that were abominations,
Mm-hmm.
And, every time, if you pay attention throughout history, every time advanced civilizations come along, they try to take over and kick God out,
Mm-hmm.
Babylon, Egypt, they're finding out that the tunnels in the pyramids are actually waveguides for transmitting energy.
Mm-hmm.
And they believe that they were mixing chemicals, a chemical reaction that was causing oscillations, and it could have been producing microwaves, and this waveguide, that's what guides microwaves,
Mm-hmm.
up to this output, and it was most likely a transmitting tower, a beacon into space. of microwaves. They found batteries in the pyramids, chemical batteries. There's hieroglyphs of Egyptians holding what looks like a bazooka with a cable coming out the back, and it's blasting things. They found gliders. They had the ability to fly. In Greece, they found a computer so advanced that today they can't figure out what it was for or how it was used. It was a mechanical computer, but it was very intricate, like a Swiss watch. You know, it was very advanced.
That's the one they found in the ocean.
Yeah, it was partially decayed, but they're able to X-ray it, and it revealed all of the workings inside, and it was very technical. And so what we're finding is, you know, these ancient stories and legends of robots and strange creatures in the ocean, like mermaids. They actually found a mermaid body. The mermaids are real. All of these stories from the 1800s, the 1700s, 1600s of ships, you know, meeting sirens, they called them. They were sitting on rocks, singing out to the people on the ship, you know. So there's all kinds of legends about mermaids. Everybody thought, oh, yeah, right, you know. And it's actually true. And they found sharks that had multiple stabbing points and spear points in the flesh that were broken off. And these creatures, which are half human, half fish. Now, I don't know if God made them or if DNA modification was done in ancient times that made them. I don't know, but they do exist still today. Noah found a half-eaten mermaid body. And, yeah, I watched a program on that. It was amazing. Really eerie, too. But so this world is nothing like we are told, you know. And it says to search the Earth's crust to find out the past, and that's what we should be doing.
Absolutely. I think a lot of these cryptids are actually these genetic hybrids that were, like, you know, managed to survive. And, you know, these cryptids are coming out like crazy. Then you get Sasquatch, right? And the Yeti, the Bigfoot,
Right.
which they've been doing DNA testing. Dr. Ketchum, I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she runs the Genome Project for the Sasquatch and cryptids. It's very fascinating. So they found the mitochondria is linked to a human female, and the father lineage is unknown. It literally has, there's nothing in the database connected to it.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Now, you said something about the a mermaid body being found. Where was that?
Well, that was probably 7 years ago, but I believe it's on the History Channel, and they interviewed NOAA, the National Oceanic Agency, and they recovered a half-eaten body. And here's how they found it. The U.S. military has invented a new sonar. It is so powerful that it pops the skulls of whales, sharks, and mermaids.
Oh my. Oh my God.
Yes. And they followed these military ships around, and all around the ships, fish were dying and floating. And here's the reason why. You cannot pressurize water. So if you put a tremendous amount of sonic pressure in water, it can travel long distances with no loss. So these pressure waves from this new sonar actually causes brain bleeding and kills many, many animals under the water. But what they were doing was had underwater microphones, and they were recording the whales' songs, and they heard a different kind of sound, a song from something, and it was not a whale. They could not identify it, and it was a mermaid. They actually mimic the sounds of whales, and it's quite possible that they are talking to the whales. They found out that dolphins, this is really wild. The chirps and whistles dolphins use to communicate. It's actually video.
What?
Yes, the CIA found out.
Wow.
It's a video stream. They're sending pictures to other dolphins.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's our creator. Amazing, infinite creator.
Amazing. Yeah, well, I know
We thought they were.
You thought they were.
Humans thought the fish were just dumb animals.
Yeah, well, I think it's really like the reverse here.
Yeah.
So the government, I think, has been big time looking for these mermaids, and I think they actually have bodies.
They have a live one. On the show, it was a leaked video. Well, there's two leaked videos. A fishing boat caught one in a net, and it scared the crew half to death, so they let the net go, and they let it go. But it was on video. And then a leaked video from a military site shows a tank, has a glass window on the door, and the short video of one that they had captured.
Right. Oh yeah, I think they're big time into all of this. I think they're on the hunt for the Sasquatch as well, and I do think they have them as well. What would you say the Sasquatch is?
Well, there are many different creatures that the creator made, and I really do not know. There's several possibilities. I do know there are Sasquatch, but
yeah. Now
go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the ancient technology you were referring to before, that was the Antikythera mechanism, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay. And do you know of any other technologies that are super ancient?
Yeah, the Tower of Babel, they found out. I was watching a rabbi who was an archaeologist. He stated that they found out that the Tower of Babel actually had electrical and photonic properties. So it was not just.
So what was it? What were they doing with this? What were they doing with this energy? These microwaves in the pyramids. What were they doing with these energies?
Well, most likely was an interstellar beacon.
Like a lighthouse?
Yes, for spaceships. So most likely, they were in contact with, alien technologies, uh, this type of situation. And if you look at the way the pyramids were built, they can't build them today. The rocks are too heavy for our machines.
Right.
So, they had high technology just to build the pyramid, much less make a beacon out into space,
So Earth was
And
like a galactic airport.
yeah. Just like it is today, but we're not allowed to know.
Right.
In other words, Hitler actually was involved in making UFOs, or high-speed escape craft is actually the technical name. The CIA has them. Many civilizations, when they get advanced, they're able to create these, and from wrecked craft, they're able to reverse engineer the stuff.
Right. So, what do you think the purpose was of the Antikythera mechanism? What would that be used for? I mean, it's very interesting.
Well, it's the exact same thing as a computer. It's just mechanical. So, anything that you would want to calculate, let's say astronomical events, predictions, especially like eclipses, because a lot of governments way back then, if they knew some event was going to occur, let's say an eclipse, they could tell the people, we have the power, we're going to block out the sun tomorrow. And it comes true. So people would falsely believe in that false religion. There's many ways to manipulate people when you have advanced knowledge,
And Hitler was very involved in, retrieval of these ancient artifacts and maps and technologies.
Yes. And he was involved in the occult. They would, him and his generals would do seances, and they received high technology. And then here's what happened. Hitler, when he lost the war, we extracted half of his technical scientists, and Russia got the other half. And one of the top scientists, Braun, is the father of NASA. He invented the rocket. They invented the jet motor. Hitler scientists invented methamphetamine. He invented the highway, or Autobahn. Now look at, he also invented a process to torture the Jews by stripping the bread, by bleaching it, stripping of it all of its vitamins. So when he fed the Jews white bread, they thought they were eating and getting nutrition, but they weren't. So they just slowly were tortured to death, with no vitamins, no nutrition. Now, if you look at our society, what do you get when you go to the fast food restaurants?
White bread. White
bread. Did you just get off the highway invented by Hitler?
Oh yeah.
Did you read about all the people in all the towns in the USA that have the big meth problem?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you see all the jets flying? Do you see all the rockets that Hitler invented? Our society is modeled after Hitler's ideas. And I love my country, don't get me wrong. But, we need some checks and balances on our leaders' ability to do things that will destroy this country, we can't allow that to happen. I mean, this is a wonderful country. What is left of it, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I think it's the same agenda ultimately. And as well, you know, the whole eugenics program to eliminate unwanted races.
Right. That's
On
where Hitler got
Mhm.
his ideas, was the eugenics program of the U.S. government. The Rockefeller Foundation was teaching Hitler all about the eugenics program.
Mhm.
And what they were doing in the U.S. is trying to weed out the unwanted people, the unwanted races, uh, you know, form society in a way that got rid of people that had funny looking faces, or if they were mildly retarded, you know, they would, you know, have operations done on them to keep them from having children. And it was leading down a real bad road, you know.
Mhm.
And that's where Hitler got all of his ideas.
So what do you think, what are the lineages or the haplogroups or the races that they want to eliminate? What are the DNA, blood types, lineages, haplogroup? What do they want to eliminate?
Well, most importantly, they want to stop anyone that God sends down here, you know, like in
Mhm.
Revelations, you know, the two witnesses are supposed to show up. They want to be able to uh, see that coming ahead of time and murder them, just like I believe as King Herod killed all the babies 2 years older and younger, 2 years old and younger, trying to eliminate Jesus as a
Mhm.
baby. You know, that
Right.
was the first Trinity treatment team. You know, but you know they want to retain power. They don't want any surprises. They
Mhm.
want to control everything, and then there are no surprises.
Mhm.
But I got a surprise for them. They're dealing with a God that has way more power than they can comprehend.
Mhm. Oh yeah, agree. So you don't know of any like specifics that they're hunting, right? Because I do feel like they're hunting specific lineages.
That's very possible.
Mhm.
That's very possible. Uh, I'm not aware of specific lineages,
Mhm.
but I totally agree that that is what's going on, because you know they have the abilities with this high technology.
Mhm. Do you think the majority of North America has been um a project center for these like secret experimentations?
Oh yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, like I stated, in the 1940s, they wanted to know what radiation did to children, so they
Mhm.
built a school and filled
Right.
the walls full of radioactive cobalt,
Mhm.
and then monitored the children's medical situation
Mhm.
and got their data that way. And that's exactly what Hitler would do.
Mhm.
So you know that's one of the main problems is when you let the CIA and the military do whatever they want, that's what you get.
Mhm.
And the history of the CIA, you know, in the 20s, organized crime was being busted. They were having good success. The FBI was actually busting a lot of organized crime syndicates. And the mafia got their resources together, and, you know, they had several, no telling how many senators and congressmen paid off under their, you know, under their influence.
Mhm.
They decided to make a new agency to keep an eye on the FBI,
Hmm.
and it's called the Central Intelligence Agency.
Mhm.
And this agency uh, mainly smuggles drugs, money, and guns. That is their main uh, activity. And I've talked to many CIA contractors that were in Korea just before the Korean War. And that war was over poppy fields. The CIA
Of
had
course.
many, the CIA had many poppy fields making lots of money. And China decided to just march in there and take over the poppy fields because they wanted to make the money on the drugs. And so they sent over U.S. contractors with machine guns and guarded the fields. And there was lots of people killed. And finally, there were so many Chinese, they had to, start the Korean War. And a lot of people died for poppy plants.
Yeah, I
and
think
Kennedy, Go ahead.
No. And Kennedy what?
Kennedy, when he come to power as president, he found out that the CIA were starting conflicts around the world and then selling arms to both sides. Now, that's called, that is destabilizing the globe is what you actually call that. And he said he was going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. And that's when he was killed. And I found out through the release of all the evidence, it was a few years back, they released all of the documents and everything, that Oswald was a CIA agent.
Of course, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they killed the president. So, that's what happens when you allow your government to do whatever it wants, anytime it wants, and give them an unlimited amount of resources and money. That's what you get.
Yeah.
So we have to put a clamp on all of this activity and root out these absolutely evil people and reform our intelligence system. And,
well, I think that's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen without the intervention of the Father, because people aren't changing. Yeah.
That's a sad fact that, most Americans, as long as they got their TV show and a bowl of popcorn, who cares?
Right.
As long as it don't affect them,
And that's why it's going to take something very large that's going to shake everyone up.
Right. That's right.
What do you know about the God codes in the Bible with relationship to what's coming in the future that hasn't happened yet?
Well, I don't have a supercomputer. I can only, I have limited information on just what I've obtained, but there is information throughout the scriptures and codes, and it is multidimensional, and it is alive.
Yes.
The word is alive.
Absolutely. So you don't recall anything, though, with relationship to your studying those codes and what, maybe some future events, or maybe like where we are in the timeline with regards to the tribulation and, what's to come?
Well, I can tell you when tribulation is going to start, and that's when every country comes around Israel to destroy it, and we're just about there. If you pay attention to the news, and it's very possible that within the next 2 to 3 years, we could see the start of the events and revelations, because AI is being developed really fast, and that's the beast. And Israel is getting ready to be surrounded, and that's when the Creator and His Son come down to save Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of events will take place very quickly, as it says in Revelations.
Mm-hmm.
The seven seals, and
Right.
I don't think there's a whole lot of time left.
No. Now, at the beginning, I wanted you to clarify something. When you were talking about the true physics of the subatomic particles and how these two forces are clashing. So you've got the divine particles coming in, and they're going at a faster ratio than the speed of light. And then you've got the nuclear, the energy, the negative energy that's being created here that's going against that. Can you just go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's the nuclear explosion is something that has tremendous amount of power of destruction, and as they develop these bombs bigger, larger, faster, it is going to cause the creator to do things to speed up time. In other words, he's not going to let them do what they plan to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't mess with God. You can't give him the finger and,
Yeah.
you'll get it chopped off.
Yeah.
And, it's really a bizarre situation. Did you know the first nuclear bomb that blew up, the scientists leapt with the trigger device?
They did what?
They slept
Really?
with the trigger device. They put it right there under their pillow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
Oh.
there is a complete religion around science. And that's, what the Masonic Lodge is about, is hidden knowledge, hidden energy, hidden systems,
Mm-hmm.
all their rituals. This represents what they believe, is universal power that they're going to be given by Satan.
Mm-hmm.
And that even goes down to the scientists that were working on the nuclear bomb. And the first nuclear bomb that went off, they immediately told, I think it was like 10 or 10,000 soldiers to march to the epicenter.
Wow.
Just to see what would happen. Our own soldiers.
I remember reading that when they did that, they didn't even know if the nuclear bomb would destroy the like the ecos the different tiers of the magnetosphere and all of that, right? They weren't even
Exactly.
sure if it was going to destroy the whole thing.
Many scientists thought it would cause a chain reaction and blow the entire Earth up.
Yeah. And they hit the button anyway.
That just goes to show you that
Incredible.
they have, yeah. And I always tell people, the intelligence curve, as you get smarter and smarter, the line goes up, up, up. It goes back around to zero.
Yep. And that's the proof.
The smarter these scientists become, the dumber things they do.
Yeah. No, it's a crazy negligence. I cannot even fathom it.
Yeah.
The Trinity treatment team. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Every government throughout history has feared God and wishes to stop him from affecting their plans. And just like I stated, when Jesus was born, they tried to kill all the children in that town 2 years old and younger, in a hopes to stop his reign as coming to earth. So basically, they're going to use science and high technology to kill God. They think, or stop him, any way they can. There's a lot of God haters in the world, antichrists,
Yeah.
and that is going to go right along with, the artificial intelligence. All of this is combined in this time we're in.
And so when do you think the two witnesses will come to the surface?
It should be pretty soon.
Yeah.
One person in the scriptures was threatened with death if he don't stop preaching, and he says, if I stop preaching, I tell you, these very rocks will cry out. And they think they can just kill, abort or kill people that are supposed to show up on the earth that are in Revelations, but the Creator is way smarter than them, way more advanced, and it just won't work. Their plans are going to fail. And the big collider that they're doing in Europe, that represents what occurred with the nuclear bomb. In other words, the scientists thought it could cause a catastrophic chain reaction. So could this collider. Many scientists believe it could open up a black hole, and or other things, a gateway to another dimension, which is a strange passage in Revelations. It talks about the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit.
And that's where they happen to be. They happen to be over that pit, and apparently they have opened that portal.
That's what they're trying to do. Yes.
Yeah.
But
No,
it could cause catastrophic events.
I mean, I think it already has been causing a lot of things, a lot of glitches, a lot of Mandelas. I think it's already been altering time and space.
Yes, they found out that one of the experiments they did at the collider, the Earth's electrosphere, magnetic sphere, partially collapsed and then slowly went back up.
Wow.
But, if they collapse that, that's our protection from terrestrial radiation, particles, etc.
Yeah. I mean, it's just madness.
I know. Gives new meaning to mad scientists.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think about the magnetic reversal?
Oh, the polar shift?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened many times. Yeah. And that could be a traumatic event. But, it could knock out many of the high technologies that they're using against us.
Right. As well, and also a maximum solar flare as well, right?
Right. That would knock out all of the IC chips, all the high technology. Now, it's a double-edged sword because nuclear power plants. You saw what happened in Fukushima. Okay, they lost their cooling ability. Their generators wouldn't start because of the salt water. Well, imagine 3,000, 5,000, however many nuclear plants are around the earth, 5,000 Fukushimas around the world.
Mm.
I mean, that's a planet killer.
Yeah. Yep.
So essentially, you know, these nuclear plants are setting up the human race for a extinction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a matter of time, you know.
And I think it's possible. The Carrington event happened in the 1800s. So that was a maximum solar flare that took out the grid at the beginning of them having electricity
Right.
and power. And that wasn't that long ago, right?
Right. And there wasn't much technology, but every metal thing, like railroad tracks, if you got too close to them, they would zap you. Your car would zap you. Electricity was being generated in every piece of metal, you know.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh. Yeah, no, I definitely.
But
Do,
he always saves a remnant. He always saves a remnant. So
yeah.
that's what we need to pray for and hope for, is to be in that number.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he always has an ark,
Yeah.
whether it's an actual boat or not.
Yeah.
He has people that he keeps an eye on and protects.
Right. That's true.
He saved my life. He saved my life so many times, I can't count them all.
And me too. We are walking miracles, actually.
Yeah. It is amazing.
So are you working on anything you want to talk about before we end the interview today?
Well, I actually developed a defense for UFOs.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I've been studying them, you know, especially. Well, I'll just tell you, in Times Beach, we had multiple blue triangles, glowing blue triangles, land pretty close to my house, and the entire I-44 highway stopped, and everybody got out of their cars and just stood there in awe. And I didn't know about this event until I went to school the next day, and a girl stood up and said she had something to tell the class, and she had it all written down, and she described the events and where it was. I'm like, wow, that's close to my house. And I walked down there that day after I got off school, and lo and behold, there was circles in the grass, burnt. And
Oh.
that's the landing pads, you know. Every year I went back, there was actually a go-kart racetrack. So it was abandoned. So we always went down there, rode our bikes every week almost. And for years and years and years, nothing would grow in those circles. There was grass all around the circles, but nothing would grow in them circles. So they're highly radioactive, these spacecraft. And, you know, that's most likely their propulsion too. But anyway, the glowing part is the subject, what I'm about to tell you. I discovered how they have the plasma force fields around the ship. They are able to transmit electromagnetic waves in a fashion called constructive interference. And it causes the air to glow, a thin shell around the craft. And this is actually a force field. It can't be penetrated until I invented this device. In other words, if you fired a bullet at that spacecraft,
Yeah.
as soon as that bullet entered that glowing area, millions and millions of amps of pure electricity would fry that bullet, and it would just end up on the other side as liquid.
Wow.
It wouldn't hurt anything. It melts anything that tries to enter that glowing area, that defense, that force field. So they recently, you know, in the past few decades, invented Kevlar and also superconducting material. So I designed a kinetic device, you know, a bolt that is made of Kevlar and then coated with superconducting material. So it would actually go through that force field with no problem. So in case we ever have to defend ourselves from UFOs, I got a method.
That is amazing. So it's an actual, I mean, is it formed like something you would shoot?
Yeah, it's just a projectile. You could actually, you know, use an accelerator gun. You could use anything to, as long as you get that bolt or, you know, traveling very fast, you know.
I think that's brilliant because clearly it appears that you know they're really coming down now and they're pretty brazen and they seem to be wanting people to see, right?
Well, I've come to the conclusion that humans in our government and probably other governments are working with them, or they have taken over our top levels because of how crazy our military is doing. And I mean, it's just unhuman to do the things they're doing. You know, they're terraforming the planet with the chemtrails. That's something aliens would do, you know. And in the 50s, or it was the 40s, I believe, General MacArthur, lost contact with Area 51. They would not answer his telegrams, his calls. They had captured a crashed spaceship with alien bodies, but one of them was alive. General MacArthur threatened the base and said, if you do not answer my questions, also they were ordering really strange parts and supplies, you know, that not normally a base would order. But he threatened them. He says, if you do not answer my questions, I am sending 50,000 troops to surround your base. And come to find out, that alien had telepathic abilities and most likely was affecting the troops, the people on that base.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. So they had to they had to find out how to contain the alien so that he couldn't penetrate, influence, you know.
Right.
So like an electromagnetic, I don't know what would it be to contain that? It would have to be something that the brain waves wouldn't be able to reach anybody. Like it couldn't penetrate.
Well, again, superconducting material will end all mind control. It will end all external influence of the brain, because you can make a helmet or a hat that covers the head, and superconducting material reflects 100% of electromagnetic waves.
And what is superconducting material?
It is material that, well, they found out silicon under 10 million tons, or let's see, I think it's 10 million tons, a 1 square centimeter, just a few millimeters thick. If you pressurize it with 10 million tons, it becomes superconducting material. It would handle all of the electricity. Just that small little piece of material would handle all the electricity that runs every country in the world.
Incredible.
It has zero resistance to electricity.
Wow. So basically, superconducting material is silicon, or can it be something else?
No, there's many different substances that can become superconducting. But you know what the problem is room temperature. Now they can make many superconductors by cooling them negative 400 degrees. You know, using super cold gases, etc. But you know that's you know expensive, whatever. But now they're very close to having room temperature superconductors, and that will be the game changer and could save humanity from a lot of things.
Incredible. Are you going to make available this new weapon that you're working on eventually?
Well, I've done revealed it. I mean, you know, it's not that technical if you think about it. But you know, it does require room temperature superconductor, unless you mounted it on a satellite, because space is negative 400 degrees.
Oh.
So
I'm not sure we could actually access that, but
right. But yeah, we would need room temperature superconductor material and coat that bolt, and it, you know, once that's done and it's commercially available, it would be easy, you know.
You know the plasma that you were talking about that surrounds the UFOs, that protects them and creates a force field around them?
Right.
I'm wondering, I've been abducted quite often growing up, and I remember several experiences where I was on a ship and there was a kind of it's invisible, but it didn't matter how fast you went. It was like you were standing still, and there was nowhere to sit, nothing to hold on to, because you didn't need it. You literally did not move, though you were going at these hyper speeds.
Yeah. I've seen video of the U.S. government shooting at a UFO. It was from the space shuttle. The camera was on the space shuttle, and you know, this craft come around the edge of the Earth. It was lit up by the sun, and all of a sudden there was a bright flash. The whole camera image went white, and that they found out that was a rail gun, electromagnetic rail gun on Earth, and it creates a huge electromagnetic pulse when it shoots the projectiles.
Yeah.
So it affected the CCD chip in the camera on the space shuttle, and it wipes out the picture of any camera when they shoot this thing off. And it's just a brief flash, and then the picture comes back, and you see these pellets, or, you know, it's almost like a shotgun, multiple pellets coming up from Earth. But before they even got close, that UFO did a roundabout and was gone. And they estimated the speed at like 250,000 miles an hour instantly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they have a tremendous ability to move quickly, you know.
And do you think that is because of this plasmic field? Because that, I mean, the experience is so weird, you know, because I kept saying, well, isn't there something I need to hold on to, or like a strap in with a seat? And they just, no, it's not necessary. You won't move at all. You won't
And what you're
experience any
talking about,
movement.
yeah, right. What you're talking about is inertia, and that's a physical property of moving objects. A stationary object wants to stay stationary. A moving object wants to stay moving. And when you change, in other words, if it was just a human-built craft without the ability to affect inertia, you would be splattered up against the wall when that thing took off. Yeah. So they have the ability to annihilate or control inertia.
Okay. It's fascinating.
And that's, yeah.
Because your mind, you're going at like, I'm talking like hyper speed. I don't even understand it. And you're not moving at all. But they can make the vehicle translucent as well. So
Yeah, there's all kinds of effects.
yeah,
When you have control over technology, you know,
yeah,
that's
wild.
amazing.
Just wild. Well, do you want to say anything else before we finish today? Because I have kept you here for
Well,
2
I
hours.
think I pretty much filled up.
I think people are gonna have more questions. Now wondering if you'd be willing down the road to do part 3.
Sure, absolutely. And also, before I go, I do want to let people know that, I did invent a countermeasure for electronic harassment and V2K. Many thousands of people around the world are being targeted. And I give that out on my website, which is antitinnitusv2k.com. And, if anybody needs help, I give it away on my website.
And it is amazing. I really want you to check that out. David has helped thousands of people, and this incredible invention, really, I can't say enough about it. So please do check out his website and order that today, because everybody is a target and a victim of these invisible weapons being used. It's not just the random
Yes,
person anymore, it's everybody.
yes,
If you have technology in your home, then yeah, you need this.
yeah, that's right.
Well, that's wonderful. 2 hours just went by like nothing.
Yeah,
Crazy. It's been a real pleasure, David. I
it's,
think I just want to say, if people want to send an email and ask questions for the next one, feel free to do that in my email, and yeah, we'll go from there to the part 3 later on down the road. And what were you going to say, David?
Oh, I was just going to thank you for what you do and all the information you provide to people, and you're building faith by getting the message out, and you're doing a good job. That's for sure.
Oh, thanks, David. It always helps to know, right? That you're actually
Oh,
helping.
yeah. Knowledge is power.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I think we've come in for this purpose, and we're on the job here, right? We're working.
That's right. We're put here to help each other.
Yep. A great honor and a great pleasure, David. Truly looking forward to part 3. I will forward you also the questions that get emailed to me, and then maybe we can compile something for part 3.
Okay. Sounds great.
Thanks, David.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everyone.